And Jason, let me just get my cat off the screen if you don't mind.
Hey, what's his name?
His name is GB.
GB. Oh, I have in COVID, there's a a cat that comes to the house, and she had two litters of kittens. And I'd never been a cat person, but because we were locked down, I ended up like building a cat condo and had 5 security cameras in there, and just to make sure that the mama was feeding the kittens correctly. And there was one boy in there who was like the biggest, and he had long hair, and all the rest of them were short haired. So yeah, I suddenly I found all this information about cats. So it was quite an experience for me. And he's called Maximus, and he's the one I kept.
I love that. And I love how we're starting a conversation about cats because I'm the same way. I wasn't a cat person until the pandemic, and I moved in with my soon-to-be wife. And hopefully during this interview, one of them does not crawl on my mixer and shut off the sound, which he likes to do, which is
yeah. It's like when you got the computer open, they like to sit on the keyboard of the computer. Yeah,
I love it. So I was going to start the interview kind of with my normal segue. Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. But we got to talk about cats. This is the Sammy and the Circle episode, because coming up later on, we're going to have your bandmate Michael Anthony on. But right now, I'm honored to speak with you, Jason. So I guess I'm curious, along with Michael Anthony and Vic Johnson and Sammy Hagar, what makes this band so special that you just love going out on tour with them all the time? What makes these guys so special to work with?
I think for me, it's the positivity of Sam, of the way the set list is, the way how relaxed and chilled it. For me, when I'm doing my Zeppelin thing, it's one thing. With this, I just get to go out and have fun. We have play, we have a laugh. We do stuff from Sammy, from Montrose, from even now we've added before, Sammy Van Halen, and then the Van Hagar and the new stuff. So, which has been great. So the set list has evolved, and even Zeppelin. So it's for me, it's just I get to play drums with some of the best musicians. And it's for me, it's a little, switch off from my normal Zeppelin kind of vibe. So I love Alex Van Halen to bits. So I get to do my Alex bits.
And speaking of your Led Zeppelin evening, has that been challenging to? I don't think so. Coming from you, I think I'm going to get what your response is going to be. To kind of juggle multiple projects at once. Do you get tired? Are you still able to do that? Does that drive you?
Well, we never used to work as much as we did right up until from 2017 through to 19, when it suddenly I started to do we started off with that. We did the Heart thing where we were playing in a different environment, where we'd be on like a shed tour playing at, before, the main act. So that was an eye-opener, because I never thought the show would work without the video screens and the storytelling. But when you've only got a limited time, it really did remind me that it's really about the music that the people want to see, listen to. So and then we had 3 years of doing the shows with Foreigner, Cheap Trick, Foreigner, Whitesnake, and then with Pete Frampton. 3 years of doing those kind of shows, which were amazing. We'd never worked that much in ever. We'd only ever done 30 shows a year up until that point. Now we were at 90 shows a year.
Wow.
As well as doing Sammy.
Yeah, and you were up for it. You weren't,
From 2014, I joined Sam, and so it suddenly became, and it's something that I was reminded of recently by John Paul Jones in an interview. His father said to him, "Never turn down work," when he was growing up. So it's a hard thing to say no, and at the same time of doing all that, I would fly to England, work with Hans Zimmer, play on the James Bond soundtrack, and do the movie score. Did the Superman thing way back in 2011 for the Man of Steel with all the other drummers. So yeah, got to be busy for a while.
You are a busy man, and just like this morning, so I don't want to keep it too long because I know you have a lot of interviews lined up. Quickly, because I have to ask about, because you mentioned John Paul Jones and Led Zeppelin, and obviously it's Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Evening. We changed from Experience. Is there any? I guess I want to know, how would you feel? And you seem to, you said you would step out of the way if they decided to go forward Led Zeppelin with the hologram show. I'm just curious, would that be, because I spoke to Roy Orbison Jr. about this when he was going to do a Roy Orbison about his dad. Is that weird to see your dad as a potential hologram? Like, how do you feel about that? Or is it giving an experience to people who never saw him play?
Well, that was, I was first approached about doing that in one of my shows when I was doing the Moby Dick with Dad together on the screen. And somebody approached me like, and this is like, I'm talking 8 to 10 years ago. Yeah, say about 8 years ago. So when it was all fresh, when they did the Coachella and in the middle of the Snoop Dogg show, and Tupac appeared at Coachella. So it was all at that time frame. So it was still very new. Obviously for me, I was going, well, how are they going to get enough footage to make it look realistic? How are they going to do that? Obviously, they've evolved now where they can literally, you can put somebody else's face on somebody else and get them to reenact the movements of every, it's a lot of work.
But would that be weird for you to see your dad almost like be alive again?
Somebody edited a photo. There's an app you can use to make a photograph move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was weird. That is weird to see.
Yeah.
I recently watched the documentary, which the making of Led Zeppelin. I got to see a preview of it, before it goes to whoever's going to release it. And the weirdest thing for me was hearing my dad's voice, because I knew when it goes from birth to Led Zeppelin 2 for each member. So and of course Robert's narrating his own story, Jimmy's narrating his own story, John Paul Jones is narrating his own story. So when it came to it, I looked at my wife and I'm thinking, how are they going to do this? And at that point, I had to squeeze my wife's hand, because all of a sudden it started, and you're like, and all I could think was, I don't remember him sounding like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was convinced that maybe the tape they were using was slightly too fast, as if they, through transition, through the years, it had worn, because it was like just the tiniest bit. So I remember afterward, so after it, I remember I said to my mom, "You've seen the thing?" She went, "Yeah." I said, "Did you think that was Dad's voice?" And she went, "I thought it was a little different too." So I was right, because I was worried that I was like, how do I not remember him sounding like that? But okay. And then later on, there's other bits that you go, okay, yeah, that's him. But there was a couple of parts where I was like, I think just through the years, the tape had worn and it needed to be adjusted slightly, slower for his timbre and his voice.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it's, someone whose dad is gone as well. It is difficult. I mean, I can only imagine for you. You have his name. I do one last quick question for you, because this is Appetite for Distortion. I use 6 degrees of Guns N' Roses Bacon. I know Steven Adler has listed your dad as an influence. Do you have any Guns N' Roses stories, or do you know any of the guys?
I've known those guys. quite some time. Where can I start? So I played with Slash on a few different occasions. He's actually way back in '97. He actually got up and jammed with me at the House of Blues in LA and did some Zeppelin stuff. But in 2000 and fast forward into 2000 and when were we? 8. I went and played with, or 2009. I went and played with Slash and friends. We did a festival in Norway, and there was John Five, Slash, Ronnie Wood, Ozzy Osbourne, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, and that was we had such a great time, and I got to play. For me, I got to do. You know where you are? Yeah, you're in Norway, baby. Yeah.
Love it. Oh man, I love that.
So I got to do all those, and Sweet Child of Mine. I got to do Mr. Brownstone. I got to do Night Train. And then I got to do some Velvet Revolver stuff with Slither, I love, and Pieces, and then we did some some Rob Zombie stuff. We did a load. We did Nazareth, Hair of the Dog, and some Zeppelin and AC/DC. So we just had a hell of a fun day, and play then to have Ozzy walk on and to play War Pigs, with him, and the place just went absolutely nuts. I'm getting hairs on my arm just red because I hadn't seen Ozzy in a long time, and just the aura he walked on, and it was like he floated on, and the place just couldn't contain themselves, and it was just to go that when you look around and you and he started, and the whole 40,000 people singing it back. Oh yeah,
wow. You made me feel like I was there.
With Slash and John Five and the whole, so it was, yeah.
Oh, what a life you're leading, Mr. Jason Bonham. Thank you so much.
I'm very fortunate, very, very fortunate.
Keep staying busy. We love seeing you out there with Sammy in the Circle and Led Zeppelin evenings. So I can't wait. I hope we get to do this again. Thank you so much.
Thank
Jason.
you very much.
What a really nice man. I sound like such an old fogey. What a really nice man, that Jason Bonham. But yeah. And it's for those who are listening on the podcast version, so no video. So when I connect to Zoom, I have which I'm sure many of you do, I have a default picture before I turn on the camera. My default picture is one of my cats, GB, kind of sitting on my home setup here, on the table. And yeah, I don't think that's the first time that it sparked a conversation. And you know what? I kind of like it. Puts the guard down, just segues right into it, talking about cats and rock and roll. And well, now we got Michael Anthony. This is not going to be video, so he's not going to see any cats. Let's see how this one goes. Can't wait to speak with Mr. Michael Anthony. Michael, how are you?
Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Nice to meet you, Mr. Anthony.
Nice to meet you too. Lopez told me that this is the one interview I got to watch out for.
I hope he didn't.
What do you mean by that? Anyway, what's happening?
Well, on that note, I wanted to start actually on a serious note, even though I'm, just like you, I'm a fun-loving guy, because I wanted to make sure I know. In my limited time, we get to it. It's important because I was looking at your Instagram recently, and I was hoping you could speak about your grandson, Rex, and there was an upcoming charity benefit. So if you can just inform us what that's about. And before that, I'm just so sorry. I know it's been 5 years. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, well, it's he was born with it's called CHD, congenital heart disease, and he was pretty much we whisked him right away to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where he had surgery, and the surgery and everything all went successful, but he wasn't strong enough for the recovery, and unfortunately we lost him after a couple of weeks. But I had always heard of Children's Hospital, and unfortunately being thrown into a situation like that, where I spent a lot of time over there at the hospital, I really got to see exactly the work they do over there, and just the great work that they do, the doctors, nurses, everybody. And no kids are ever turned away, and they help people that have families that have financial hardship. So they do a thing every year now. And actually, that was the first year back in 2017. It's called Walk and Play LA. Okay. And, we raise donations. We do it year round, but we do it special for this event. And they're holding it at the Los Angeles Coliseum. And it's on the 25th of June here. And we raise money for the hospital to help support the hospital. And it's a great thing. We have a team of ours. We're called Rex and the Heartbeaters. And we all take donations, accept donations through ourselves, or else you can donate directly to the hospital. So it's great.
Thank you for talking about that. And again, I'm so sorry. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. What a beautiful little boy. And, whatever we can do to raise awareness and money so this doesn't happen to, to more families.
If people go to the Walk and Play LA through Children's Hospital and find our team, Rex and the Heartbeaters, or you can find me. If you're on Instagram, just go mad_Anthony_baseman. And there's a link in my bio, take you right to a donation page. You can donate to the hospital through me. And it's great. And it's a great event. And anybody who's out here in the LA area, you can register, and you can it's a morning full of all kinds of activities. They have some of the sports team mascots and some of the team members a lot of times come down. I think they have Sugar Ray Leonard, boxer. He's one of the hosts this year. So it's going to be, but they make it into a fun day. I mean, it's a great cause, but they want it to be uplifting for everybody. And so we have a great time, and it's, the event starts in the morning and it's over just after lunchtime. So, come on down if you're around.
Perfect. And I appreciate you talking about that. And, I guess with that, to pivot to, why you're here today, since then, obviously you can't help but think of family. I'm younger than you, so you probably laugh at me for saying that, thinking of family. I don't have kids yet. I'm just getting married in a couple weeks. So
well, congratulations.
Thank you. But has that made touring any harder for you to be away from family? Have you approached touring any differently? As we, of course, talking Sammy in the circle with George Thorogood. So I'm just curious, is going on tour harder for you now since you suffered some family, loss?
We obviously don't tour. The schedule's not as grueling as it used to be in the early days. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we were in our 20s, 30s, or whatever, we would be Van Halen. We would be away from home for months, and that doesn't happen anymore. We're usually gone. Sammy doesn't like to be away very, very long because he's got a lot of family stuff always going on. So the only thing that really I do not enjoy, and I haven't for years, is living out of a freaking suitcase, because all my shirts get these like fold lines all over the place the wrong way, and I just do not like that. And I will not take an iron and put it in my suitcase. But that's basically the only thing. I love playing the shows, and we have a lot of fun. And obviously, we've afforded ourselves a luxury now because we've all made money and whatever. Sammy has his own jet, and so we fly around in that. So right there, you avoid all the airports and all of that. You take an SUV right onto the tarmac and right up to the plane. You get on the plane and you get off the plane and go straight to the hotel. So what could be easier than that?
I wouldn't know. That sounds so rock and roll. That sounds like a life I only aspire. So that's pretty, that's great. And of course the schedule is different now, but do you do anything, no matter how frequent, if there are family things and people, it's like an athlete, when they get older, they want to be home with their family or things like that.
Of course.
I don't want
to. Now, if you ask my wife that question, she's like, you've been home too long. But you get out and play some shows with Sammy and have some fun with the guys.
Yeah, I guess it's all about perspective. And you're telling me there's not a suitcase company like Samsonite or a shirt company that can get you the right fold, that can't get Michael Anthony of Van Halen the right fold?
You know what? I kind of maybe went a little far there. I am very good at folding my clothes and putting them in the suitcase.
There's a headline. I love that.
Okay. I'm a good clothes folder, and I know how to I know how to turn your shirts and your button shirts and fold them up and make them sit just right.
Got it. If I ever need my clothes folded, and you're in the area, that's what I'll use you for.
I'm not cheap though.
Duly noted. I know my time with you is limited, and I don't know if maybe this is what our producer today, Michael Lopez, was saying. We got to watch out for this guy. I just have a unique theme to my podcast. Everybody has a rock podcast, just talking. Mine's called Appetite for Distortion. So it has a Guns N' Roses 6 Degrees of GNR Bacon.
All right.
So I know you played with Matt Sorum before. So I'm just curious, is there maybe a fun story with Matt that you're able to share? Or maybe another 6 Degrees of GNR Bacon we're not aware of?
With Matt? You know what? I actually didn't become really good friends with Matt until he quit drinking. So I don't have any good stories. I don't have any of the really good stories, which I'm sure, from back in the day, which all us musicians do from back in the day. But no, he's a great guy, very passionate about the music, and he's just a great guy to hang around with.
And I mean, and I've heard nothing but the same thing about, because Matt's been on the show as well, about him getting sober and how he's got a little daughter now. So come on, how can you not be the happiest guy on the planet when you got a small kid now? Yeah, beautiful little daughter, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when I say fun stories, I don't mean like the bad, the drug, sex, and rock and roll stories. It's kind of like a silly story. That's kind of what I'm about.
Okay, so because those were the fun stories.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's also about perspective as well. And I want to get your perspective while I get to speak with and just honored with any minute I get with you. Obviously, Van Halen, your debut album, arguably the greatest debut album of all time, rock or not. Some say the same thing about Appetite for Destruction. So I guess I'm curious what your thoughts were when you first heard Guns N' Roses, since you guys were already at it. So what did you think of Guns N' Roses when they came out in 1987?
Well, when I first heard Appetite for Destruction, I actually went, "Whoa, these guys are good," And in a world where a music world where music changes so fast now, and I kind of consider ourselves one of the last bands that were actually signed and was on the tails of bands like The Who, Zeppelin, Humble Pie, stuff like that, because you had punk and new wave and all that stuff kind of entering into the scene when Van Halen was coming out onto the scene, and I think we did a pretty good job doing what we did and keeping rock alive. And I think that Guns N' Roses, they basically were doing the same thing. And like now when I hear like Ed's son Wolfgang, the album he came out with his band. Keeping it alive, because let's face it, a lot of the award shows I really don't watch that much anymore, and some of them, all these rock categories are off air anyway.
Yeah,
so it's we're kind of like I'm a minority now, rock and roll, and it's great whenever you see a band like that,
Yeah,
it's great. And Guns N' Roses, they were just a kick-ass rock band. Very good kick-ass rock band.
Right on. And obviously Van Halen the same. And was there any, I don't think you were involved at the time, perhaps, but maybe you knew anything about it. There were rumors about before Slash reunited with Axl that perhaps there was going to be a Van Halen GNR tour, or is that completely made up?
You know what? I did hear a rumor or two about that, but nobody had contacted me about anything like that. So as far as I knew, it was just a rumor.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. What is before I let you go, what's the thing you're looking forward to most this summer, being out with Sammy in the Circle? And of course, George Thorogood, who was on the show.
Yeah. It's going to be a great show. We have a great new album that we just finished recording last September that, earlier this year, we shot videos for a few of the songs, and we're getting ready to put all that out. And it's just, a really exciting time before you go out and knowing that you got a really great album coming out. And we haven't done an amphitheater tour in quite some time, so we're all pretty revved up and ready to go. Looking forward to it. Awesome.
Well, you can go to Sammy and the Circle. It's all, again, on Michael Anthony's Instagram and website. The tour dates are out. We're just lucky that you guys are out there still doing it and kicking ass. The band is great. And I'm sure you don't remember. I didn't bother John Bonham. I spoke with him a little while ago this morning. You guys came to iHeartRadio to do a radio tour just like this, but it was in person before COVID. And Sal, who you probably know, he was nice enough just to let me meet you guys and take pictures in the hallway. and you were all just, you, Sammy, Vic, all amazing people. And it's just very cool for me a couple years later getting to speak with you. So just thank you so much for your time.
Oh man, that's great. It's like, if you don't love doing it, we wouldn't go out and do it, but we love getting out there and hanging with the fans and, meeting people like you. And we're looking forward to having a great summer.
Thank you so much, Michael. I hope we get to do this again.
All right, Brandon, it's great talking to you.
Wow. Michael effing Anthony. What an awesome, awesome guy, and an honor to speak with him. And of course, Jason Bonham. So definitely be sure to catch Sammy and the Circle out on tour and new music. And, we'll see what happens if there's going to be a Van Halen, reunion. I just certainly didn't want to bog him down with questions about that. He gets enough of that. So wanted to focus on some other stuff. But regardless, this is, as I mentioned to Michael, I met these guys a couple years ago, and it's happened a few times in my career. I get to meet somebody at a certain point in my career, and it's a great moment, but it's like, what I really want is to be able to interview them, and that's what I like to do, that, especially with this podcast now, having this platform, not just having a radio job, but making this my own. So now that I have the opportunity to interview both Jason and Michael on this podcast and to talk about Guns N' Roses. Oh, what a nice little life victory. I'm going to call it that. I don't usually say things like that, but I got to really acknowledge when things are going well, and it's going well. And speaking of which, as this episode wraps up, episode number 349. So, wow, we are almost, we're slowly but surely approaching 400, which I can't believe. But on the way, I'll tell you some more interviews that are happening. We're going to interview the brothers from Lit. Okay, the Popoff brothers. So we had Lit on before, but we didn't get both brothers. So that's going to be fun. We'll get an update on what they're doing. AJ and Jeremy, and also from Fuel. I'm very excited to be have a chance to speak with Carl. Carl Bell wrote original hits for Fuel, Hemorrhage, and Shimmer. I mean, they were, for when I was in high school, huge. And like a lot of bands, new lead singer, trying to make a name, rebuild kind of thing. And I'm going to give you a tease because I do know he has some Guns N' Roses stories. Okay? He did see them with Metallica, Faith No More. Maybe he'll talk about that show. He's hung out with Duff. He's hung out with Slash. So we'll see what he tells us. Stay tuned for that. And also looking forward to, not officially confirmed yet, but looking that way, Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols. Have you watched that series Pistol yet on Hulu? Hey, look, I know it's been getting mixed reviews, but if you saw Del James tweet about it, I felt the same way. 6 episodes wasn't enough. I was enjoying the hell out of it. I think it's great. So I can't wait to talk to Steve Jones about Pistol. And yeah, I'll ask him about the Neurotic Outsiders. So a lot to look forward to here on Appetite for Distortion. Meanwhile, the conversation always continues on social media in between the broadcasts. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please check back nearly every day. Not only will these full episodes be up there, but highlights, the best of compilations of Appetite for Distortion up on our YouTube channel. So lots going on. Okay? So when will you see these episodes? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it, I don't know if soon is the word,